Good morning, Acadiana. Thanks for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate and the Advocate at Large, our home of journalism here in Lafayette, Louisiana and the Louisiana area. They're covering the entire state and our local municipalities. We're glad to bring you this service every Monday through Friday between 9 and 10 a.m. and we could not do it without the generous volunteer efforts of people like Alicia Sill from yesterday. And this morning we were joined by Bruce Cohen. Bruce, good morning.
Well, good morning. It was great to hear another voice on the air yesterday.
Well, we missed you, but we know you probably enjoyed the break from giving us the news every day, which you've been
Well,
doing.
it's great that some of our volunteer news readers are getting back into a position where they can broadcast the news from their home, like I've been doing. So I'm really happy for that. Hopefully, we'll get some more in the next coming weeks.
Agreed.
So that'll be good.
Well, thanks,
So,
Bruce. I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, Acadiana. Here's all the news that fits hopefully in the next hour. Acadiana surge in case numbers ebbs slightly by Ben Myers. The recent coronavirus surge across Acadiana slowed slightly over the past week based on the number of new cases and cases as a percentage of new tests. Newly reported cases over 7 days as of Tuesday were less than the weekly count on July 14th, even with the inclusion of an inflated tally a day earlier. Nearly half the cases reported across the state on Monday came from backlog tests. The state did not differentiate backlog results by parish or region. The most noticeable declines were in Lafayette and Iberia parishes, which saw a 25% decrease in their 7-day case counts. The 7 Acadiana parishes comprising Region 4 decreased 11.5%. Still, the weekly case count continued to increase in 4 of the 7 parishes. The state announced last week it would no longer report daily coronavirus data on Saturdays, and that it would instead include 2 days of data on Sundays. Cases as a percentage of tests were lower in all 7 parishes, though the regional percentage remained above 10% for the 20th straight day. Although cases are a percentage of tests and is a common way to calculate the positive test rate, the state counts all tests, even retests by people who are already tested positive. That typically results in a significantly higher figure. For example, the Region 4 Health Director, Dr. Tina Stavansky, last week said the Region 4 positivity rate for the week ending on July 8th was 27%, but the number of new cases reported that week was 10.7% of the number of new tests. The state also provides case and test data by collection date, which provides a more accurate look at a particular time period, though those numbers are updated a week behind the closely watched daily reports, when sometimes includes a case and tests from multiple weeks. The percentage of cases to test according to the collection date for the week ending on July 8th was 16%, still well below the number Stefanski cited. Asked last week how Stefanski arrived at her figure, the health department provided a written response. We know that some positive individuals are being tested multiple times. Every distinct positive test will be included when calculating percent positivity. It said, however, one positive test is counted for each individual in the case count. As a result, attempts to calculate percentage positivity using cases rather than positive tests will result in an inaccurate value, the response reads. An interview request with state health officials is pending. Hospitalizations and death continue to climb in Region 4, with 287 COVID-19 inpatients as of Tuesday. Hospitalizations have increased by 45% over the past 2 weeks. There were 49 deaths reported over 2 weeks as of Tuesday, the 5th straight day that the 14-day death toll was in the 40s. There were 28 deaths reported in the previous 2 weeks period. The highest COVID-19 and death toll in Region 4 over any 2 weeks period is 56, which was recorded on April 30th. From there, the 2-week death count declined to as low as 15 on June 21st, before rising again over the next month. Lafayette Parish residents slam plan to close 4 recreation centers by Claire Taylor, staff writer. Residents of North Lafayette pleaded Tuesday with Mayor President Josh Guillory and the parish and city councils to keep 4 recreation centers in Black communities open, calling the move a form of discrimination. A representative of one group proposed the Lafayette Consolidated Government, or LCG, lease the 4 centers to the group for $1 a year. Another community leader said if the matter is not resolved by the end of the year, he will call for defunding City Hall. Guillory announced in a video news release late Friday afternoon that he will close 4 recreation centers in North Lafayette neighborhoods that are largely Black and economically challenged, as well as lay off 37 employees. He said the move is needed because tax revenue is down dramatically because of COVID-19 business closures and a depressed energy industry. The Dominique Recreation Center on Mud Street, Hyman Park Recreation Center on South Orange Street, J. Carlton James Activity Center on Astor Drive, and George Bowles Activity Center on Don Street and Pod Davis Park are slated for closure in the new fiscal year that begins November 1st. North Lafayette residents, Black and white, spoke Tuesday about the importance of keeping the recreation centers open. Herb Green said he's a product of the Hyman Park Center, which gave him the confidence to join the military. Programs at the centers, he said, create healthy competition. If you take that away, there's going to be a competition between drug dealers. There's going to be a competition between people that we don't want in those places. And those people will try to recruit young people to get involved in bad things, Green said. Corey Levier, founder of Cycle Breakers Coalition, a nonprofit group, proposed LCG lease the 4 recreation centers to his group for $1 a year for 20 years. The group, he said, will provide management, staff programs, and division, and already is recruiting volunteers to help. LCG would provide utilities, internet, and all equipment already in the buildings. Bill Leindecker suggested instead of closing the centers, the mayor president reduce hours and alternate when all 10 recreation centers are open, and that he utilize employees in a creative and productive way through all parks. Leindecker questioned why Guillory and his staff had not produced statistics or data on the savings or costs of closing the centers. Targeting one section of the city and one group of people is shameful, he said. To access other recreation centers, residents near those proposed for closure, many of whom ride buses and bicycles, will have to cross busy streets. Guillory's proposal, Leindecker said, sends the message you are not equal, you are not worth looking at all options. Announcing closures and layoffs on Friday is deplorable. John Milton, pastor of Amani Temple number 49 in Guillory in Lafayette, said Guillory's proposal had racial undertones. It's either going to be one community or we are going to be a divided community, he said, one clawing at the throat of the other. At least give a park to the children, or by the end of the year we shall defund City Hall. Guillory said he was motivated by the lively discussion Tuesday and welcomes ideas, but he reminded residents that budget cuts are needed. A parks and recreation tax, he said, is not generating enough money to sustain operations. Qualifying opens for November elections. All 6 Louisiana congressmen had ended terms by Mark Ballard. And we'll get to that story in a moment. I want to read more Acadiana news for you this morning. Winging It, additions to 7 Lafayette Parish schools slated to open to students this fall by Katie Gagliano. While most of the school life screeched to a halt this spring because of the novel coronavirus pandemic, steady construction continued on wing addition projects across Lafayette Parish, and students at 7 schools will eventually return to new permanent classrooms instead of portable buildings. The projects, 9 in total, will replace roughly 150 portable classrooms across the Lafayette Parish school system. The district chose to initially focus on elementary and middle schools with 6 or more portable buildings. Then Superintendent Donna Aguilar said at the Woodville Elementary groundbreaking in April 2019. The projects at Ridge Elementary, Catherine Drexel Elementary, Woodville Elementary are complete and in the move-in phase, while the projects at neighboring Evangeline Elementary and Acadian Middle are on track for completion in early August, district spokesperson Allison Dickerson said in an email. Construction should wrap just before classes are scheduled to begin at LJ Alamon Middle and Broadmoor Elementary. The wing addition at Corporal Michael Motorbrook Elementary is scheduled to wrap up in the winter, and the project at Edgar Middle is in the bidding process, with bids due August 6th, she said. Students will be introduced to the new buildings when classes begin on August 17th. Students will attend in-person classes in A-B cohorts that alternate in-person classes and virtual learning throughout the week as part of the district's initial reopening plan released last week. Justin Santani, District 6 school board member, said it's tremendously exciting seeing the projects completed after more than 2 years of planning and construction. While there were some unforeseen expenses, particularly for the Evangeline Acadian project, most of the construction projects was smooth sailing, he said. In the past 5 years, the school board has been focused on facility improvements. Portable buildings proliferated across the district as facilities failed to keep up with capacity needs as the parish has grown. Quality of the learning environment contributes to student success, and the portables are distracting and unappealing, Santani said. The investment shows the children we care about their environment and education, he said. Jennifer Gardner, Chief Administrative Officer for the school system, said as a teacher and administrator in Lafayette, little improvements around the district weren't uncommon, but multiple major projects occurring simultaneously was unheard of. It's an important step forward for the district, and Gardner said she's proud to help and make it happen. As far as the number of projects and classrooms at once, I don't think anyone thought it would happen, she said. The new buildings also have unintended benefits considering the COVID-19 pandemic. While in enclosed space, the new buildings allow for speedier and easier sanitation, have more square footage than the portable buildings to assist with social distancing, wide hallways for traffic control, and larger bathrooms that are indoors, allowing students to easily access sinks for hand washing, regardless of the weather, Gardner said. While students living in portable buildings will be safe and receive the same level of care, the new wings make managing the process easier at the 7 schools, she said. Furniture has already been delivered to Catherine Drexel Elementary in Broussard, and teachers are slowly beginning the move-in process. Principal Denise Swallow said Friday, the 20-classroom building will serve students in 2nd grade through 5th grades. The new classrooms have more square footage than the previous portable classrooms and are equipped with built-in cubbies for students and storage cabinets, automatic lights, well-mounted Chromebook changing stations, and Promethean smart boards. The bathrooms are more easily accessible than the outdoor portable bathrooms. Each water fountain includes a water bottle filling station, she said. I love my building, Swallow gushed while peering down the new hallways and peeking at classrooms. The wing is an important investment in the school's future, she said. In 2015 and 16, the board considered investments in Catherine Drexel and originally proposed fully replacing the school, but that plan was scrapped in favor of constructing Marshall F. Belliode Elementary instead. Swallow said she was concerned about the future of the school with its aging infrastructure and overwhelming number of portable buildings. She said the new wing signals the school will live to see another day and is a movable booster for the staff. The teachers are so excited that they had put the nameplates up. I took a picture and sent it to each one, and they were like, it's real, she said. Okay, and now we're going to turn to a couple of public service announcements. Have you ever wanted to have a poem written just for you? Here is your chance to have a lovely story or poem written by one of our esteemed authors. The program is called The Words for You. It's a fundraiser for Festival of Words that happens every first weekend in November, usually in the Grand Coteau area. This year it will be a virtual Festival of Words. The dates this program is running is started July 8th and goes through August 26th. You can go to festivalofwords.org, that's all lowercase, to find out more information. Just click on the Words for You button, or you can contact Martha Garner at fowmartha@gmail.com or call 337-804-2482. During a difficult year, creative expression is more important than ever. The Festival of Words has developed an alternative fundraiser to Word Crawl. Words for You is a project of commissioned poems, stories, and songs. Unlike this project, festival supporters will have the opportunity to commission a work by a favorite author. And this is how it works. Approximately 30 authors are available to choose from. You can go to festivalwords.org to begin the process. Choose an author to create an original work for you. Make a donation online, because the pricing will be available for you online as well. Fill out a brief questionnaire about yourself to help the author get started. The writer receives the request and creates a new work based on the prompts. A virtual performance of the new works take place August 26. One note, limited to one piece per author. Volunteer authors for this program include Poet Laureate Darrell Bork, Dominic Cross, Tony Daspit, Gina Ferrari, Mona Lisa Saloy, Valentine Pierce, and current Poet Laureate for the state, John Warner Smith, and many more. And donations are $50 a minimum for one original work, or $100 minimum for a poem by a current or former Poet Laureate. Again, if you're interested, please contact Martha Gardner at fowmartha@gmail.com or call her at 337-804-2482 or Patrice at festivalwords@gmail.com. The number to reach Patrice is 337-254-9695. All right, getting back into our news. LD to open an Alabama Center Supply Lafayette store, distribution hub part of Louisiana expansion. By Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. LD, which has announced plans for a store in Lafayette, will open a regional headquarters and distribution center near Mobile, Alabama, to serve its expansion into Louisiana and the Gulf Coast, company officials announced. The popular discount grocer plans to open 70 stores by the end of the year and to open stores in Louisiana, marking its 38th store to have a location. Company officials will break ground on the Alabama site in 2021. Company officials have not announced a start date for the construction of the Lafayette store, which will be built on 3 acres just east of the Walmart Supercenter on Ambassador Caffrey Parkway. City officials approved an extension of Curran Lane for the project earlier this year. Each new store is an opportunity to serve another community, which is an honor and responsibility we do not take lightly, said Jason Hart, CEO for LDUS. As we continue to expand, we promise to do everything in our power to offer the lowest prices every day without exception. In fact, as food costs are rising across the country, we are lowering prices on hundreds of items to meet our customers' increased need for savings. The company recently bought property in Baton Rouge for a store, and last year acquired properties in Slidell and Jefferson Parish. The German supermarket chain, which opened its first U.S. store in 1976 and wants to be the third largest grocer in the country by 2022 behind Walmart and Kroger, specializes in fast-moving grocery items instead of the wide variety carried in traditional supermarkets. A typical Aldi will carry about 1,300 items stocked on 4 or 5 aisles with spacious checkouts and without services like a pharmacy or in-store bank. The Lafayette property is owned by the Hernandez family, irrevocable trust, which announced a 6,200 square foot shopping center under construction on Ambassador Caffrey in October that will feature up to 5 retail units along with a new location for Las Hacienda Mexican Restaurant and Cantina. Aldi also announced plans to open 4 stores in the Phoenix market, another part of its $5 billion investment into a multi-year nationwide growth initiative to update stores and open hundreds of new locations. Sculptor Keith Sonier dies at 78 by Ken Stickney, a Cajun sculptor who gained international admiration far from his Evangeline Parish boyhood home has died of colon cancer. Keith Sonier, 78, grew up in Mamou, son of a small-town merchant, and attended local schools and the University of Southwestern Louisiana, now the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. At graduation, he studied painting briefly in Paris. After graduation, he studied briefly in Paris doing painting, then enrolled at Rutgers University in New Jersey, where the art department enjoyed a robust reputation for pop art. Sonier's sculptural work, championed by a Rutgers family of notable contemporary artists like Roy Lichtenstein and Robert Morris, drew notice in New York early in his career, especially for his use of unlikely matter like colored neon, rubber, and glass. By the late 1960s, his work has been displayed at the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York City. Herman Meir, former UL art faculty member, says Sonier was among a group of students influenced by Calvin Harlan, an art professor at the university in the 1950s and 60s. He was close friends with the Yale graduate and musician and photographer Dickie Landry of St. Martin Parish, and others from the Gulf Coast, including artist Robert Rauschenberg, whose family lived in Lafayette. The artists supported one another in navigating the New York City art scene. Andrew played at gallery openings for Rauschenberg and Sonier and other artists. In a Monday story about Sonier's death published in Art Forum, the publication noted that in 1969, Sonier began his Ba series, which became a lifelong pursuit. Titled after a Cajun expression meaning color bath or light bath, the Ba works combine colored neon and reflective glass shapes in abstract compositions based on the golden ratio, the publication said. Sonier received a Guggenheim Fellowship and 2 National Endowment for the Arts grants. Pace Gallery, where he exhibited for the past 15 years, says Sonier had been the focus of some 151 artist exhibitions, including the Alexandria Museum of Art and the New Orleans Museum of Art. College of the Arts at UL awarded Sonier the Spark Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. This award honors alumni and members of the community who have advanced the arts in Louisiana and across the country. Other Spark Award winners include painter George Rodrigue, architect A. Hayes Town, musician Michael Doucet, Beausoleil, Landry, and Meir. Sonier's work was shown internationally at sites including the Pompidou Center in Paris, Sprengel Museum in Hanover, the National Gallery of Australia, New National Galerie in Berlin, and the Museum d'Art Moderne et d'Art Contemporain in Nice. His work was also featured in more than 360 group exhibitions, Pace Gallery said in a published statement, and was included at Tokyo Biennial, Indian Triennial, New Delhi, the Venice Biennial, the Whitney Biennial, International Biennial Exhibition of Prints in Tokyo, Biennial de Paris, Biennial de France in Hamburg, and the Bi-City Biennial of Urbanism Architecture in Hong Kong. In mid-career, Sonier turned to large-scale public artworks, including Lightway, a kilometer-long light corridor at Munich's International Airport. Recent exhibitions included Keith Sonier Until Today, his first U.S. solo exhibition since the 1980s at the Parrish Art Museum in Watermill, New York, and Louisiana Suite at the Casman in New York City. Keith Sonier Until Today is the first comprehensive museum survey for Keith Sonier, a pioneering figure in conceptual, post-minimal video and performance art of the late 1960s, said notes to the exhibition at the New Orleans Museum of Art on Noma. Sonier was one of the first artists to incorporate light into sculpture, an innovation that forms the foundation of his subsequent work, the museum said. Since the late 1960s, Sonier has continued to forge a sculptural language that defies easy categorization. From his earliest investigations of fleeting and unstable materials like lint, latex, and neon, to his later expressions of the way architecture, light, and form come together to shape human experience, communication, and interconnection, Sonier's art has radically reframed sculpture's role and function. Landry, friends with Sonier for 52 years, said you couldn't find more of a Southern gentleman. He had great insight about human beings and what makes art great and what makes a great artist, Landry recounted. Landry said he moved to New York City in 1969, though Sonier met Philip Glass and Richard Serra, with whom he played for many years as part of the Philip Glass Ensemble. He said 7 people from Acadiana eventually played in the ensemble, which he joined in 1969. The Hillard Museum on the UL campus showed his work in 2014. The museum owns 2 of Sonier's works, one a painting and the second a sculpture, Museum Director Luann Greenwald said. The Hillard Art Museum expressed its sadness of Sonier's passing. Ben Hickey, curator of exhibitions, said his work holds a special place for me because I saw my first Sonier while in grade school. It was his public installation of Motordom, commissioned to the Los Angeles Caltrans District headquarters in 2004. Motordom did what so many textbooks could not explain about Sonier's work, he said. Its blinking neon lights vividly illuminated the night and created an environment that was sublime and immersive, but also referenced taillights and Los Angeles traffic. Standing there was akin to experiencing a sense of being rather than looking at a work of art. I was at a place feeling the endless possibilities art holds, he said. When I think of Sonier's work, I do not think of his many accolades. I think of freedom, expression, and optimism. I am immensely sad that he passed away, but I'm glad this work taught me so much, especially in our certain historic moment when optimism is needed. Sonier is survived by a daughter, Olympia Sonier. Okay, and now we're going to go to another PSA or a couple more PSAs, and then we'll head into our day in history and our zodiac or horoscope, as I refer to it, and the funerals in the Acadiana area. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bringing the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2 Cox 16, and LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch for the daily schedules and to submit content for the program. Visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the current pandemic, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and could direct you to mental health, substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7 and all calls are confidential. If you need the service, please call 1-866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. Locally, you can stop the spread, call and send #stop the spread by calling 311 for the latest COVID-19 updates and information, or you can visit their website at 311 Lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. All right, now we'll go back into our news and we'll start off with the day in history. Today is Wednesday, July 22nd, the 204th day of 2020. There are potentially 162 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on July 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln presented to his cabinet a preliminary draft of the Emancipation Proclamation. On this date in 1587, an English colony fated to vanish under mysterious circumstances was established on Roanoke Island off of the coast of North Carolina. In 1933, American aviator Wiley Post completed the first solo flight around the world as he returned to New York's Floyd Bennett Field after traveling for 7 days, 18 and 3/4 hours. In 1934, bank robber John Dillinger was shot to death by fellow agents outside Chicago's Biograph Theater, where he had just seen the Clark Gable movie Manhattan Melodrama. 1942, the Nazis began transporting Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto to the Treblinka concentration camp. Gasoline rationing involving the use of coupons began along the Atlantic seaboard on that same day in 1942. 1957, Walter Fred Morrison applied for a patent for a flying toy, which became known as the Frisbee. Way to go, Fred. 1991, police in Milwaukee arrested Jeffrey Dahmer, who later confessed to murdering 17 men and boys. Dahmer ended up being beaten to death by a fellow prison inmate. In 1992, Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar escaped from his luxury prison near Medellin. He was slain by security forces in December of 1993. 2011, Anders Breivik, a self-described militant nationalist, massacred 69 people at a Norwegian island youth retreat after detonating a bomb in nearby Oslo that killed 8 others in the nation's worst violence since World War II. 10 years ago, the city manager, assistant manager, and police chief of Bell, California resigned after outraged residents found out through a Los Angeles Times investigation that the officials were making a total of more than $1.6 million a year. 5 years ago, prosecutors in Colorado urged the death penalty for Aurora movie theater shooter James Holmes, saying he deliberately and cruelly killed 12 people. Holmes ended up being sentenced to life in prison, where the jury could not unanimously agree on execution. A federal grand jury indictment charged Dylan Roof 5 years ago today on this date, the young man accused of killing the black church members in Charleston, South Carolina, and with 33 counts, including hate crimes, that made him eligible for the death penalty. Roof would become the first person sentenced to death for a federal hate crime. He is on death row at a federal prison in Indiana currently. 1 year ago, Old Town Road by Lil Nas X remained at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart for a 16th week, tying a record set by Mariah Carey and Luis Fonsi. Today's birthdays: former Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole, Republican from Kansas, is 97 years old. Arthur Tom Robbins is 88. Actress Louise Fletcher is 86. Rhythm and blues singer Chuck Jackson is 83. Actor Terence Stamp from England is 82. And today, game show host Alex Trebek for the famous show Jeopardy is 80 years old. Singer George Clinton is 79. Actor-singer Bobby Sherman is 77. Movie writer-director Paul Schrader is 74. Actor Danny Glover is 74. Actor, comedian, director Albert Brooks is 73 today. Rock singer Don Henley, famous for the Eagles, is 73. Music composer Alan Menken is 71. Singer-actress Lynette McKee is 67. Jazz musician Al Di Meola is 66. And actor Willem Dafoe is 65. And actor-comedian David Spade is 56 today. Looking at the funerals in the Acadiana area for today, we only have a couple. Quentin Desmoreau, David Funeral Home, Chapel at 1 p.m., and James Elder Jr., Bellevue Memorial Park, 110 North Market Street, Opelousas, at 10 a.m. Okay, I'm getting back into the news. Edwards, well, let's do this, folks. I do have a food-related article to read to you this morning. I'm just get it prepared here. For those of you who are New Orleans bound, who or go to New Orleans for the great cuisine, unfortunately, there will be the closing of a legendary restaurant in the New Orleans area happening. Closing of a legendary restaurant, a wake-up call to save others. K. Paul's Louisiana Kitchen made enormous contributions to the restaurant world. Perhaps now, even after it has served its last blackened fish, can add one more to the list. Maybe the closing of this epic restaurant will extinguish any doubts about the stakes at hand in the coronavirus crisis and our own roles in the fight against it. The longer the crisis lasts, the greater the toll it will take. Of course, that starts with lives lost to the deadly disease. It also reaches into the economy and culture, the intersection where our restaurants sit. These are confusing times, and restaurants are back open, cooking delicious food again and rolling out the hospitality. Yet, businesses, as usual, remains a distant fantasy. Restaurants face the financial peril of a devastated economy and the health risks of simply being open in the pandemic. Some restaurants that made it through the first few months are closing now as cases rise and the prospect of a finish line recedes further into some drifting future. In many cases, restaurant owners say these closures are temporary, but some are permanent, and K. Paul's is now one of them. Founded by the late great Paul Prudhomme in 1979, K. Paul's helped set the table for the modern American culinary scene and inspired a generation of chefs. But after 4 months of restrictions, reopening, closing again, and no end in sight, the family and owners at K. Paul couldn't see a way to carry on. News of the closing was a shock to many, and it spread far and wide. It hit especially hard close to home here in New Orleans. After hearing dire predictions on how bad this crisis would be for our restaurants, we're starting to see what that actually means. Restaurants need support on a high level with funding to remain viable tomorrow if they need to temporarily close today. And they need support from us every day, not just as customers, but as a community helping to slow the virus spread. There is a bill now progressing through Congress that will provide relief specifically tailored to the restaurant industry. Unlike the general businesses aid Washington provided through the CARES Acts, the Independent Restaurant Coalition and the National Restaurant Association are both working with lawmakers now on this Restaurants Act, which includes measures to allow restaurants to pay staff, rent, and other vital expenses, even if they can't reopen yet. The funding might not matter if cases keep surging back, though. That's why restaurants need people to mask up, not just the restaurant, and not just because state rules now require face masks. Even if you aren't visiting restaurants right now, this tactic diminishes virus spread and can hasten the time businesses can return. The same goes with schools, sports, and anything else we're yearning to bring back. When we pretend that gradual reopening of the economy means we're back to normal, when we cling to some notion that mass use is controversial, then we are taking things we should value in the community for granted. The end of K. Paul should send a message as loud as butter hitting a hot skillet. Anything we take for granted to this fight is lost. And I just want to say this article was written by Ian McNulty, who's a staff writer for the New Orleans edition of the Advocate. Okay, and one thing I did not unfortunately say was the Zodiac, but I'll get to that in a little bit. I'll try to end up with the Zodiac this morning. Edwards, Louisiana, to stay in phase 2. Governor says hospitalizations remain huge concern for state. By Will Santel. Governor John Bel Edwards said Tuesday the state will remain in phase 2 for the reopening of Louisiana's economy for at least 2 more weeks, adding that hospitalizations for the coronavirus are again a huge concern. There is no doubt we have a long way to go, Edwards told reporters. We still have a lot of COVID-19 in Louisiana, more than we want. The governor said the state is number 2 in the nation, behind only New York State and the high percentage of total residents infected with the virus. The rate of positive cases, which have been hovering around 10%, is now 15.46%, officials said. We have clearly turned a corner in the wrong direction, Dr. Alex Bilio, Assistant Secretary for the State Office of Public Health, said of hospitalizations. Bilio said hospital leaders across the state say capacity at their facilities is becoming more strained. The state reported 1,691 more cases of the virus on Tuesday and 96,583 in all since the state reported its first case in March. Edwards says the 1,527 people reported as hospitalized on Tuesday is the most since May 3rd, and the challenge is nationwide. This is a particular concern, he said. The 36 deaths reported Tuesday were the most in the state since May 28th. We are seeing a tremendous amount of COVID-19. A tremendous amount is spread across the state, Bilio said. He said in some cases, hospitals are having problems even admitting patients. He said the state does not have to return to restrictions phase 1 and phase 0 to get the virus under control. I believe in the people of Louisiana who have already been able to flatten the curve once and who I know can do it again, Edwards said in a statement that accompanied his announcement. We have to do the things we've been talking about all along, he told reporters. We're obviously disappointed to remain in phase 2 for at least 2 more weeks, and we are just as concerned with the lack of a clearly articulated and creative pathway to a safe, reopened society, school system, and economy. And this was a quote by Stephen Wagersbach, president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. The governor's announcement means the state will remain in phase 2 until at least August 7th, the day after many schools begin the 2021 academic year. The current directive is set to expire on Friday. State Jobless Fund running out of money, Louisiana would have to borrow from the feds, by Tyler Bridges. The state fund that pays jobless workers is going bust. The bust is projected to occur in September, but is not expected to affect the weekly payments that Louisiana workers receive. Rather, it marks the point in which Louisiana will have to begin borrowing from the federal government to continue paying benefits. Unless Congress bails out Louisiana and other states in a similar bind, Louisiana will have to repay what it borrows and also replenish the unemployment trust fund at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. That situation is likely to force state lawmakers to make businesses pay higher taxes while reducing the state benefit that flows to unemployed workers. It's a big problem over time, said Jim Richardson, LSU economist. You need the trust fund to have dollars in it. Governor John Bel Edwards has begun discussions with legislative leaders to find a long-term solution that minimizes the impact on businesses, his office said in a statement. The State Unemployment Trust Fund had $382 million as of July 20th, according to the Louisiana Workforce Commission, which oversees the program. It had almost $1.1 billion when the pandemic hit with full force in March. Ava Dijon, the agency's secretary, said the balance is dropping by about $50 million per week. We will begin borrowing money in September under the current trajectory, Dijon said. It's not happened since the oil bust in the 1980s. More than 200,000 workers lost their jobs and have been collecting state and federal unemployment benefits. As of July 11th, 282,000 people were collecting unemployment in Louisiana, or about 1 in every 8 people who were in the workforce in February. Unemployed workers saying the money has allowed them to pay rent and buy food have expressed dread at the prospect of losing the federal supplement given the lack of jobs. Democrats are pushing for an extension, but Republicans have resisted after hearing from small business owners that they can't hire back some of their employees because the laid-off employees are earning more while jobless. So-called gig workers who file 1099 federal tax returns will no longer receive the $600 after next week, but can continue receiving a weekly payment between $107 and $247 through the end of the year, according to the Louisiana Workforce Commission. On Wednesday, 3 groups, Unite Here Local 23, Step Up Louisiana, and New Orleans Democratic Socialists of America, will send one delegation to the office of U.S. Senator John Kennedy in New Orleans and another to the office of U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy in Metairie to call on them to support extending the benefit. Both Kennedy and Cassidy are Republicans. Louisiana in 1993 paid off the $1.3 billion it borrowed in 1987. 2 years later, in a plan crafted by Richardson with business and labor leaders, the legislature put the trust fund on solid footing until now by establishing the tax that businesses would pay in the amount that the unemployment would receive. Qualifying opens for November elections, all 6 Louisiana congressmen at end of terms by Mark Ballard, Capitol Bureau editor. Candidates for hundreds of public offices are taking up possible bids for weeks, but if they want to run in the November election, they will have to officially sign up Wednesday through Friday. Republican President Donald Trump's re-election effort, presumably against Democratic former Vice President Joe Biden, will top the November 3rd ballot. Louisiana traditionally turns out big for presidential elections. Usually more than 2/3 of registered voters cast ballots. More than 2 million voters participated in 2016, with 58% backing Trump. Political demographers are predicting the November elections, demographers, whatever, predicting the November elections will have a record-breaking turnout nationwide. Democrats have been energized this year by what are perceived weaknesses, including a sluggish coronavirus pandemic response, a poor economy, protests over racism and police brutality, and a long-held desire to whip Trump. Republicans hold 53 seats in the U.S. Senate, a 3-vote majority, and will be defending 20 senators this fall. Serious and well-financed Democratic candidates have mounted fierce challenges in many of these races, including presumably safe GOP seats in Maine, Kentucky, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Colorado. On the eve of qualifying, U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy from Baton Rouge, Republican, so far has not been challenged in his bid for a second term by a well-known and well-funded Democrat. Cassidy, who convincingly defeated incumbent Mary Landrieu in 2014, is planning to qualify on Friday. Chief Louisiana Supreme Court Justice Burnett J. Johnson, Democrat in New Orleans, is up for re-election to a 10-year term on the 7-member board. She is first elected to fill a spot on the High Court in 1994. Associate Justice Marcus R. Clark from Monroe, Republican, is stepping down for health reasons, and his seat is up for grabs. Candidates will be allowed to bring only one additional person into their singing room. Usually candidates fill the space with family and supporters. The candidates will then be allowed to give a short presentation in the Archives Auditorium. Before the pandemic, the speeches took place in the Secretary of State's office small reception area. All candidates for local races will qualify with the parish clerk of court. Runoffs, as necessary, are set for December 5th. Okay, and moving on, researchers use hearts to study virus. Autopsies help show how COVID-19 affects organs, by Emily Woodruff. Hearts collected from nearly 2,000 patients who died from the coronavirus at University Medical Center in New Orleans are often LSU researchers' clues about how the disease affects vital organs, according to new research published Tuesday in Circulation, a journal of the American Heart Association. When researchers began examining the 22 hearts, they expected to find evidence of heart inflammation that contributed to the deaths of patients. Inflammation of the heart is a factor leading to death and other flu-like illnesses, and is often the primary cause of death. In early research into COVID-19, there was evidence from China that heart inflammation could be an important factor in why people died of the disease, according to Dr. Richard Vander Hyde, a cardiac pathologist with LSU Health, New Orleans. The hearts from the New Orleans patients suggested otherwise. There was no significant myocarditis in these patients. Myocarditis. There was no significant whatever in these patients, said Vander Hyde, referring to that particular type of inflammation under study. Only doctors can say those words, not us lay people. Instead of inflammation, the researchers were surprised to find scattered dead cells in heart muscles, and unlike other types of coronavirus infections, such as SARS, in the 22 patients LSU researchers studies, there was no evidence of SARS-CoV-2 within the heart muscle cells or blood clots in the coronary arteries. Researchers don't know why that's the case, but it nevertheless challenges some early assumptions about how the coronavirus attacks the body. The research builds on a previous study from the authors of the lungs of 10 of the patients whose hearts were used in the latest study. That study, published in The Lancet, found that tiny clots in the small vessels lining the lungs of every patient contributed to their death. Tropical depression forms an Atlantic wave moves across Gulf by Mark Schiffelstein. A low-pressure area in the central tropical Atlantic Ocean developed a sufficiently well-defined circulation and enough thunderstorm activity on Tuesday afternoon for the National Hurricane Center to declare a Tropical Depression 7. At 4 p.m. Tuesday, the Depression Center was 1,420 miles east of the southern Windward Islands and nearly 2,000 miles west-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands, which are off the coast of Africa. The storm had maximum sustained winds at 35 miles per hour and was moving west-northwest toward the Caribbean Sea at 8 p.m. Forecasters expected to gain enough strength to be christened Tropical Storm Gonzalo by early Wednesday. Forecasters are also tracking a tropical storm producing a large area of showers and thunderstorms over western Cuba, the northwestern Bahamas, southern Florida, and the Gulf of Mexico that will cross the southeastern Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday night and Wednesday. Forecasters gave that patch of storminess a 40% chance of becoming a tropical depression over the next few days as it moves west-northwest on a path toward the Texas coastline. On that path, it should stay south of the Louisiana coastline on Thursday and Friday before making landfall somewhere in Texas. The best chance of rain from the tropical wave will be Wednesday and Thursday from the Interstate 10 to Interstate 12 corridor southward, said forecasters with the Slidell office of the National Weather Service in a Tuesday afternoon forecast message. And finally, we look at a news story here, and then we'll get to the Zodiac. New recruit provides Cajuns with multiple defensive options by Kevin Foote, sports writer and staff writer for The Advocate. Time will tell which position C.J. Cesar will play during his career with the UL Raging Cajuns. When you stand 6'3", weigh 200 pounds with plenty of room to grow, and have the ability to run a low 4.5 in the 40, all kinds of brainstorming possibilities exist for collegiate defensive coordinators. The Cajuns are just happy as their staff that get to explore these options. It made me feel like family, said Cesar, who committed to the Cajuns on July 8th. I was able to visit the campus and meet the players and went to a camp. It just felt like home. Iowa high coach Tommy Jones expects the Cajuns to play him at outside linebacker in a hybrid position. With another year of high school football hopefully left to play, the bottom line is the athletic ability opens up many doors. He's a great athlete, John said. He's a dual sport guy. He's a low 49, high 48 quarter miler, and he anchors both of our sprint relays. Not many can carry that kind of weight around the track like he does. What they're wanting him to play, he's going to have to put on some weight. But that's part of his upside. He's got room to grow. In addition to UL, Cesar got offers from programs from Tulane, Kansas State, Air Force, and Arkansas State. He said Tulane recruited him as a safety, Kansas State to play cornerback, and Arkansas State as an outside linebacker. Cesar said UL didn't tie him down to one position during their recruiting process. Hybrid position, he said. They'll put me in certain spots in certain circumstances, depending on the personnel of the other team. John said Caesar's knowledge of the game will make learning multiple positions possible. As far as alignment and knowing what to do, he's going to be fine there, Johns explained. He's got great football knowledge of the game. He's up there with the ones I've coached in that area. He's very, very knowledgeable of the game, very, very smart. The current plan is to play him mostly safety and some outside linebacker during his senior season. It's been very frustrating, he admitted. All the hard work me and my teammates, my coaches have put in over the last 2 years, kind of frustrating. We want to play a season. He's part of a senior class that largely started as sophomores and took some lumps along the way, looking forward to this fall. Consequently, Caesar's goals began with the team's success. If we have a season this year, we're making a run most definitely. We're all older and we're all bonding, and we should be able to make a run. And I think he's being recruited for his upside, John said. He can really run, and there's no telling how big he's going to get. And finally, we turn to the zodiac. If you're a Cancer, don't sit back. You should be moving forward. Make a career change or learning something that will help you grow intellectually, spiritually, or emotionally will contribute to your success. If you're a Leo, refuse to let an emotional incident spin out of control. You have plenty to gain if you're putting energy and resources to work for you. A physical change will boost confidence. Virgo, my birth sign, walk away from temptation. Well, I wonder what's tempting me today. Someone will pass along false information. Concentrate on expanding your knowledge and interest. Don't give in to narrow-minded people. Truth matters and fairness is essential. Libra, accept an invitation that intrigues you. Gather information that will help convince others to participate in your plan. Romance is favored. Scorpio, work will curtail your free time, but the results will be worthwhile. What you learn today will help you set higher goals and standards. Sagittarius, expand your mind and unravel emotional misunderstandings that have stood between you and what you desire. Clear a space at home that is conducive to hearing and to learning. Capricorn, enforce positive domestic changes that will add to your comfort and improve compatibility with a loved one. Search for information that will enlighten you and change your way of thinking. Aquarius, stick to the people and pastimes that bring out the best in you. A creative outlet will help you hone your skills and lead to a money-making venture. Pisces, monitor what's going on around you. Sharing too much personal information will lead you to a precarious position with someone who isn't trustworthy. Focus on health, emotional healing, and creative endeavors. Aries, take action, aim to get things done. Say less and do more. Avoid arguments and people who don't share your opinions or interests. Fitness will promote a healthy attitude. Taurus, an emotional situation will cause uncertainty. When in doubt, ask questions and be reluctant to make a hasty move. Look at every possibility, be fair, and don't fold under pressure. And finally, Gemini, home will be a safe place. Putter around and make things comfy and conducive to doing the hobbies you enjoy most. And that is fine because we all should be staying at home most of the time right now to avoid the spread of the coronavirus. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. And that, my friends, is the news in sports and other related items for this morning, July 22nd, 2020. I hope you enjoy tuning in and listening. We provide this service to our virtually impaired community and to the people in our community who don't have access to a newspaper or access to the news cycle. We provide the service free every single morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday with volunteer newspaper readers like myself. If you're ever interested in becoming a volunteer newspaper reader for AOC, you can go to our website, aocinc.org, look up the volunteer page, fill out the form, and we'll get you started and become part of our family. We're now beginning to get more readers attached to the project, now that we've been doing this virtually. I do it from my home computer. And we hope that if you're interested at all, it's a fun and very worthy service to provide for the community. So as always, this is Bruce Cohen. This will always be Bruce Cohen. And I want you all to stay safe, healthy, and smart, people. Please be smart. When you go outside, wear your mask, wash your hands frequently, sanitize, do everything we need to do to stop the spread. It's a deadly virus, folks. Deadly. It's killing people. So please, please, please do what we need to do to stop the spread. Let's just do it together and get this thing under control as soon as we can. Again, thank you for listening today. As always, be kind to each other.